Hi everyone, it's Ollie at MagicHands Hobbies. Thanks for joining me again. Today we're going to be looking at painting the tables and chests from the latest HeroQuest board game. They're pretty decent chests. I really like the sculpts on these ones. The tables are quite detailed as well. And we're going to look at some very simple methods of painting the miniatures. So we're going to start off with a brown. You can use any kind of brown here. What we're applying here is I suppose you could say a wet brush. We don't want to be applying a full base coat into all the nooks and crannies, and we're using the kind of dry brush technique, but we're putting a lot more paint on, just trying to establish a decent base coat. So you can see me doing this to the table, and you can see that I'm trying to go across the grain. I've sped it up a little bit here for the chest, but it's the same principle. We're going across the grain. You've got to be a bit more careful on the chest because the detail is a lot shallower. Then we're going to hit it with the next shade up. You can see I'm now applying it's more of an actual dry brush, just gently caressing the tops, the highest edges of the wood effect. I'm going to apply the same to the chest, just repeating the same process. There are 3 chests in the set and there are 2 tables. I'm only going to show you the wood effect on one of each, but then I'm going to paint all 3 chests in a different manner. Slightly lighter tone now on the wood. Be careful not to apply too much paint. What you don't want to do is undo everything that you've already done. Now coming in with a final highlight colour. This is more of an ivory colour, just to finally pick out the absolute high points. Don't need very much of this at all. You don't want to ruin the effect. That's me rubbing some away because I've put too much on. I'm going to be focusing the lightest part from above. Obviously that's where the light is coming from. Generally that's where the light is coming from. Obviously if you've got the light coming from below, you'll need to rotate it so that it's upside down, or if you've got it coming from the side, you'll need to just adjust the way in which you're painting it. Just applying almost an edge highlight here with an ivory colour, just trying to catch the very edges of the table and the edges of the wood grain. So with the wood done, we're now going to move on to the detailing. With the table, there isn't very much detail here. We're mainly looking at metal strips and a couple of pins that hold the legs together. Just throwing down a very basic dark silver all over wherever there are metal parts on this table. I'm also going to do this on one of the chests. With the chests, I'm going to paint one gold, one silver, and one like a bronze colour, copper colour. So you can see I've applied all of the silver all over the table here. And now this is one of the chests that I'll paint up in a nice silver as well. Same method. Just be very careful with the chest. You don't want to put the metal colour onto the wood. See, I'm using a very old and tatty brush. What you don't really do is use a very nice brush for the metallics. The little bits of metal that are actually present within the paint will settle within the bristles and can absolutely ruin it. You can see this used to be an army painter, well, it is an army painter brush, but it used to be a very nice detailed one, and gradually over time it's worn away, and I now use it as my metallic brushes. So there's the chest complete in terms of the base colours of the metal. Looks really nice as it is, but we're not done yet. Here's a copper one. So I've just used a typical copper colour. And here is my gold. Now these won't stay like this, so I'm going to apply washes to these, and that will help bring out the shading. So we're going to use black wash here. In this particular case we're using the Games Workshop or Citadel Knoll Oil. We apply this on quite liberally, but be careful not to let it pool too much. I found that with this paint in particular, if you let it pool too much, it can end up looking, well, fake, or not very good, and it will also sometimes come up glossy. Though I have found that tends to be as a result of not shaking the paint. Even though it's a wash and it looks like it's okay in the pot, you still need to shake it just like you would any other paint. So here's the copper one. We're doing the same thing, applying the black wash all over the copper as well. With regards to the gold one, that won't be a black wash, that'll be a brown wash. Just it's a nicer effect, in my opinion. If you want to apply a black wash, then you go ahead. You'll also see I'm not too bothered about getting the wash on the wood. This applies to all the chests, because as long as you do it carefully, you can actually use it as a shade. So just like I just got it down the side there, that will actually fall quite nicely and form a nice shadow underneath. Wood is not always perfect, there are imperfections, and you don't have to focus on getting that shade in there on purpose in every location, because if you do, it will just look uniform and not necessarily natural. I know it's not natural wood, I know it doesn't look like natural wood, but obviously in the world of our hobby, it's a nice effect. So there's the gold, and I've done exactly the same process but with a brown wash. Agrax Earth Shade is what I've used on that one. So now we're going to use a technical paint from Citadel, that one, whatever it's called. I'm not very good at applying it in this particular instance, but you want to just put it randomly across the model wherever there are creases or wherever these rivets are, and the idea is to make it look like water has collected and it's oxidizing and potentially dripping down the side of the metal. Don't use too much. Less is more in this particular case. You don't want the whole thing to look like it's a verdigris box. There we go, that's that bit finished. I'm wondering to myself what it would look like if we did that before we put the wash on. Okay, so now this is a technique that I use all the time. You'll see it in many of my other videos. We've done the black wash, but now we're going to stab or stipple the brown wash on top. Once this dries, it forms I think quite a nice rusted effect. Quite often what I'll do is I'll use a technical paint over the top of this from Games Workshop. I forget what it's called now. I'll try to remember to put it in the description below. But you almost use it like a dry brush paint, a very thick paint. And what that can do, will add the orange oxide colour that you're used to seeing with a rust. This method here kind of gives a staining. Well, that's it. Here are the chests and tables for you to look at. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. I really like painting these ones. It was really nice. And if you like what you see, like the video, subscribe, share with your friends, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.